Hi guys, Milne here. Welcome to the channel. Just like to start off by saying a massive thank you to all of you people that have stuck around and been supporting me throughout the whole time I've been going. I know I haven't been uploading as much lately. Real life gets in the way and I've just been super busy and everything else. But here we are. We're going to do another tutorial for you and I hope you enjoy it. So with the new fishing update coming in, everywhere I go, all I seem to be seeing is people fishing. So I thought, what's a better time now to bring out a boat tutorial? Because at the end of the day, you're going to need to go somewhere to catch your fish. You're going to need somewhere to put your fish. So yeah, I originally made this boat quite a while ago, but this seems like the perfect time to get it out and show you how to build it. Now we could just go ahead and slap down one of these boat prefabs, but where's the fun in that? So let's go ahead and build our own. Originally when I built this was the end of the map, but now we have the Skyline Valley. So here we are, right underneath that bear at the top of the skyline, and I'm just going to place my camp module on that rock right there. So starting off, you're just going to want to chuck a foundation down, and we're going to want to lower this so it's just at the top of the water like that. And then you can go ahead and place down a 6x2 foundation. Starting things off, we're going to put down 3 half walls on this side, 3 half walls on the opposite side, and then we're going to need to go ahead and break one of those half walls so we can make a blueprint. Once you've broken that, we're going to go into our floor decor and we're going to need a mat. Now I've used this one. You can use any old mat, it doesn't really matter. You can use a small floor decor item if you wanted to, but just make sure that the wall sits on top of whatever you use, just like that. And then we want to put a small catwalk on top. Then you can go ahead and blueprint all of that. Now that we've got the blueprint made up, we're going to start doing the front of the boat. Now try to line these up as best as you can. You want to try and make them nice and parallel either side, so whatever angle you do on this side, try to keep it the same for the other side. If it's wrong at all, you can easily just delete it and place another one down. It's a lot easier to place these front ones because you can use the foundations themselves as a reference point, and it makes it a lot easier placing it all down and getting it all lined up. Okay, moving around to the back of the boat now. If you put the foundations, use these wooden ones, and if you place them the same direction that I've got them, you can sort of place this one down so that it hits halfway on that foundation. You can see that sort of line makes it so much easier, like the front. Place them down on that centre of the foundations, and then that'll be exactly enough room to place one straight across the back like you're about to see. Right, so now that we've got our boat shape, you can get rid of all these catwalks and mats because they're not needed. Then you can go ahead and break all of those half walls. I'll tell you something, I mean, being able to shoot things to break stuff without using the flamer anymore is a massive help, so thank you Bethesda for listening to us on that one. Now that that's all away, we should be left with something like this, and we can go ahead and get rid of all of these foundations but just leave one for now. Okay, so with this last one, we're going to place that on the back there, because we need to start working from outside the boat and making the floor. So now that we have all that lined up, we can raise that foundation up about a quarter of the way up to that half wall, so we can start putting in some roofs and making our floor. Right, so this is pretty simple to do. We're just going to want to place a half wall on the back of that foundation. Then you're going to want to place a flat roof coming off of that. And then you want to snap a slopey roof angled down going into the boat. So then when we change the direction of that roof, it will flatten it to the same height as our marker foundation. Once you've done all that, you can take away that temporary roof, change that back to a slopey boy, place in these ones because they're nice and easy. Right, once you've got that last one in, we can change all these back to a flat roof. I've done them as the angles first because it just, when I change the texture of the roofs, they're all going to run the same way. Once you've done all that, you can go ahead and destroy all those roofs like I've done, and now the fun begins. We need to start working on the back of the boat. So I've repaired that half wall, placed my foundation so it snaps to it. Then we want to snap a foundation onto that, remove that. We then need to break that half wall so that we can raise this foundation up like we done just a moment ago. Right, so this is important. You need to take note that I am not putting the foundation the same height as the roof, because when I place my slopey roofs and flatten them down, they actually sit higher than the foundation, which you'll see in a moment. So always make sure when you're doing these angled walls at the back and at the front of the boat that you bring that foundation down ever so slightly. So once you're happy with how high your flat roof is, which that's pretty spot on, you'll see here that the roof is actually higher than the foundation. That's why I lowered that foundation that extra little inch. So make sure you do that on all the rest of these. So you're going to need to make sure that you break all of these roofs as you go along, because they're all going to be merged into each other. So we're just going to repeat the process, repair the half wall, place a foundation to it, snap a foundation to the back, break the half wall, raise the foundation up, put the half wall in, flat roof, slopey roof. You get the picture. I mean, you can see what's going on. And yeah, we need to do this for all the rest of these angled walls. Now that we've done the back, I've skipped to the front. Now these ones are going to be the last ones that we're going to have to do. You won't be able to do the very front of the boat, and I'll show you why in a moment. Right, so I've placed the foundation on there, and as you can see, if I was to put a roof on there as well, it would stick out the side of the boat and it just look horrible. So I've gone ahead and I've repaired everything so I could check what would be my floor, make sure everything's nice and flat. Once you're totally happy with that, then we're going to need to change all these roofs back into a slopey boy, because we're going to need to take all of this out, and we're going to put temporary marker ones all the way round, because we need to work on putting the rooms inside the boat and finishing off the front and everything. And with these in the way, it just gets in the way. So once you've changed all those to slopey boys, you can then go around placing it on a flat one all the way round, just as a marker. You will come across some of them, or one of them, that will say it's floating. That's not a problem. You just have to change the angle of the roof and then place that on. Once you've done all that, You can then change all these angles because of their floating. They need to be changed before you can remove them, and you should be left with something looking like this. Okay, you can go ahead and break all these walls again, and then we need to put in a temporary roof just so I can flatten that down, because I need to line up a foundation to make sure I'm the right height for the walls for all the rooms inside the boat. Once you're happy with all that, you can just remove that roof again, and then we need to place a half catwalk on this foundation so that when we come inside our boat, we'll be exactly in the middle. Okay, so once you snap a foundation on there, you can just get rid of that catwalk, and then our lower room is going to be 2 foundations wide. But see, the thing I want to do is I want to skip that back a little bit because it's a bit too far forward for my liking. So I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to put in a 1/4 catwalk and then place the foundation back again. And then you can just get rid of that catwalk and bring our foundations back again. So that's the floor plan for the lower room in the boat. So next I'm going to need to work on the roof for it. Now, I wanted the roof to overhang the whole building, so I've moved that foundation at the back of the boat out the way, placed in a 1/4 catwalk. Then I'm going to place in a 1/4 catwalk either side, so then I can place in a temporary wall off of that, and then we can start placing in the roofs that we want. Okay, so I'm using the army roof for this build, and you're just going to want to place that on top of the temporary wall, change the angle so that we can break the tie to the wall, and then we also need to break that roof so we can place the next one in. Right, once you've done exactly the same on the other side, we can then place all our foundations back to how they was and start working on the front part of the roof. Right, so we're going to move this front foundation over by half using a catwalk. Then we're going to place a 1/4 catwalk either side like I've done at the back, and place in a temporary wall and then stick on the roofs. So now we've eventually done all that, we just need to infill the middle part of the roof, and then we can place our foundations back again. Right, now we're working on the room above. This is optional. You can place in a marker foundation just in case you wanted to make sure that you got back to the right position. You don't really need to, but anyway. So I've moved that front foundation forward again by 1/4 catwalk this time, and then pulled the back foundation over to meet it, so that the top room is offset to the back of the bottom room, if you can understand what I'm waffling on about. I go ahead and place in some temporary walls down the bottom here, because we only really want these ones up the top. So once all they're done, we can remove all those ones at the bottom and then pull all our foundations back to their original position. Well, next you can get rid of that marker foundation that we didn't really need, and we need to place on the last of the roofs right at the top. Now I chose to use the same roof that I did down below, but you're going to have to place on 4 of these to get a perfect square. So I've placed one down, changed the direction just so it's easier to break. Then you need to place the next one, change the direction, break it. You can see the pattern that's happening. Just go all the way round. Right, so now that we've placed our last one on, still need to change the direction and break it, because we're going to place on one last roof, which is the old original roofs that we got right at the beginning of the game, just the spiky one. And just like that, job done. Right, now it's dark, it's night time, so let's skip through to the day so you can actually see what I'm doing. Next, we're going to be working on this front part of the boat. Now, you could infill this with mats if you wanted to, but I chose to use one of these guard posts. You can just chuck it on the foundation, doesn't matter where it goes, and then you want to pull it back so that them half walls at the front go past it. So you've still got the sort of point of the front of the boat, if you know what I mean. I can't talk properly, but yeah. Then once you've got that back as far as you want, like I have here, then you're going to want to adjust the height of it, because you don't want the top of the guard post to be higher than the top of the boat. Geez, I actually hate the sound of my own voice. I'm trying to explain things it's just horrible to hear back. Doing this editing actually kills me. But anyway, we're going to push past that, and eventually I'm going to place that down. Next, we're going to need to break that so that we can place in our roofs again. Okay, so now we can start working our way around and putting all the roofs back in here again. You're going to want to snap them on as a slopey, then change them back down to a flat, but you're going to need to break every single one, well, mainly these ones that all go into each other, because they're merged, and you'll get floating issues and intersecting, and it's, yeah, just break it. So we're placing them two, broke them. Now with the 3 that run in a line, they're a lot easier, because they will just all snap together, not a problem, and then we can crack on and get the back of the boat done. So obviously you're going to need to break the last 2 so that you can get the back of the boat in, because of the whole floating issue, intersecting issue, you know, we've just been over that. So once you've broke them, you can place in these last ones, and then that'll be all the floor back in again. Right, so once you've got the last of those roofs in, you can go ahead and snap in all these walls onto the 2 foundations. Right, so just have a quick look round, make sure you've got all of your roofs stroke floors back in again, and then once you're happy with that, you can remove all of the temporary ones. You're going to need to break the ties on those three to get rid of them. Once that's done, we're going to start repairing the half walls on the angled parts of the boat so that we could do the walls that go above it. Right, so you're going to want a half wall on both sides of this front of the boat, and then you're going to want one right at the back of the boat as well. The rest of the walls that I've repaired are going to be the old triangle walls. Once they're in, you can go ahead and repair everything. Now I'm just going to quickly go and change all the roofs back to their final texture. Right, then the last thing I'm going to show you is we just need to stick some doors in, and once the doors are all in, this top one should go in fine. Bottom one wasn't going in for me. You might get that issue with the top one, but it's pretty simple. All you've got to do is just break the roofs underneath it because they're what's in the way, and then it snaps straight in. Right, and then that's the boat finished. So next, all you've got to do is just go around, change all your textures over, decorate, and make it your own. I'm going to jump onto my boat that I originally made and show you how I decorated everything. Right, so luckily I still have this because it's on one of my other characters, not my main. To do this sort of rockery pathway is nice and simple. I just placed a load of stones on top of the mats. Then you can place the mats on top of a pressure plate. Pressure plates will sit in the water perfectly fine. And this is how I've done it now. I'm a scrappy builder, so obviously mine's going to be a nice scrappy boat. All I've done is just mix the textures up and added bits and bobs to it, made it look as scrappy as possible. Built myself a little crane on the top there so I can dump all my toxic waste. And yeah, that water wheel was a bit of a pain to get in. I had to change the back end of the boat in order to get it in. So if you're wanting to put that in as well, you're going to need to take out the back of the boat, basically put the water wheel in and then rebuild the back of the boat around it. But yeah, just have a little look around all the final textures. So I went with the pit roofs in the end. There's my crane that I built, which is just the alien bed merged together with some posts and conduits, some wires, and there's a floating roof with some barrels on, so it looks like I'm dumping all my toxic waste and everything. But yeah, just basically make it your own. Right, just heading inside. This is obviously the cockpit of the boat. Now, I made this quite a while ago, so I just worked with what I had at the time, but we got some much better items to use nowadays, like the old boat steering wheel, whatever you call it. I used a light one, but it worked for me at the time. And keeping in the theme of me being a rather messy person, I've just basically placed organised crap all over the place, scrapped it up as much as possible. I think I went max budget on this boat as it is, because I like to max budget all of my builds. Just put in a barbed wire fence just for like a handrail, and yeah, just basically throw crap everywhere. If you want to put things under that guard post, it's easy enough. You can just break the guard post and then everything will just place straight underneath it. And heading inside here, true to form, I've just kept everything in theme of the boat, and it's just basically a floating pile of crap. I think that's what I titled the build anyway. I will link the build that I done in the description as well, in case you want to check that out. Okay, and that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I really hope you like how I've decorated my boat. If you've got any questions on how I do things, please feel free to ask. This is why I started the channel, is to help out fellow builders. And basically, if you're new here, you like what you see, I'd really love if you could support the channel a little bit further, maybe give it a like and a sub. And to my channel members, you guys are absolutely awesome. You've gone that extra mile. If that's something that you'll be interested in doing, then there's all links on my homepage of my channel. And that's it really. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.